All right. Up next, we've got a question from Mama Didn't Raise No Foo. She says, I have a question I haven't seen on the show before. If you have reached the boiling point or the bowling point, how do you explain to your kids, we're doing okay and not to worry, but also don't let it get to your heads?
Oh, this is where
I know how Shaq does it.
I had two thoughts. I was like, just keep telling your kids it's okay if your kids don't know you have money. I think that's okay. But then there's so that's one side of it. I do that with my youngest. Like I'm just like, she's like, Dad, someday when we're rich, can we do this? And I'm like, yeah, maybe someday we can do that. So maybe it's wrong that I'm playing this game with her. But then there's the Shaq way, where you basically just straight up, and it's probably for Shaq, it's hard for him to hide what he has. I mean, when you got all the Papa John franchises and everything else he's rolling with,
it's hard to hide it.
You just remind your children that yes, you are rich, but the kids, you're not rich, and that's something just to take into account, and that's why, guys, from the beginning, I've told you, Bo does a great job with the save, spend, give?
Yeah, give, save,
for the
spend.
younger. Go ahead and get those categories into your young children's mindsets. But then I'm one that I love your children working while, getting a job at some point in high school. I even like fast food or food service because it lets you get direct access to the crazy public. As soon as they start working in any type of job that's considered earned income, start doing matching funds and you can open a custodial Roth IRA or something like that. But go ahead and start priming the pump of good behaviors and disciplined behaviors and also the value of hard work. Because if you can catch that fire young and they see it and they can kind of feel it and actually then catch traction with it, your life is going to be a lot easier, and it's also very fulfilling as you get to experience the fruit of a child that actually you realize is a good hard worker and good with their money. I mean, I'm feeling that right now with my daughter who's a junior in college, but she is good with money, and it feels it's kind of, it warms my heart to know that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The question says, how do you explain to your kids we're doing okay and not to worry? I don't know that you have to explain to your kids that you're at the boiling point. I think once you reach critical mass, I don't know that's something you have to tell your kids or walk them through. But what I've tried to model is it's really easy. I've got little kids. It's really easy to just say, that's too much money. That's too expensive. That's whatever. But I do agree at some point, as your kids age and as your kids mature, they're going to probably recognize, okay, things look different. And so what I try to do is I try to always point it back to the behaviors. Hey, girls, the reason we're able to go on this vacation, the reason we're able to have this experience or do this thing is because, mommy and daddy make really specific decisions about how we save, and we've been saving for this, and we've been so it's less tied to the outcome, the success or the wealth or the money or whatever, and much more tied to we can do this because of the behavior. And if you can begin to drill that into your kids, it'll be less about the destination and more about the journey to get there. Because that's what I want them to walk away with, is what your daughter now has. She behaves a certain way because that behavior was modeled for her, not just because she was told, hey, everything's okay, we've got money, we'll be fine. If you can begin to instill that in them, and that just becomes naturally part of it, hey, we can do this because, I think it creates a very different mindset in your children, and not an entitled mindset. Now, one of the things you have to combat is when things are perhaps a little bit easier, a little bit smoother, there's more money laying around. I do think you have to be intentional with, I don't want to say creating scarcity. That's the wrong word. But
put scarcity in their life.
Okay, maybe it's the right
I'm
word.
all about some scarcity in some rich kids' life. They don't need to get it all while they're young.
Agreed. But I would say it's really easy to say, we can afford it. It's a much harder thing as a parent to say, no, we can't afford it. We're choosing not to because. And I think when you can begin to introduce that in and help them understand the value of money and the value of decisions that you're making, I think it just changes the whole dynamic. And that's something that we're having, especially in the community in which we live, having to work through with our kids, even present day.
I mean, I'll say it because I know it seems like nobody listens to me, but I did it with my child, is that I gave her one of those character building cars, a 12, she paid for half of it. And that's what I think that is a good thing. Whereas it seems like all my neighbors were giving our kids brand new cars right out of the gate. I think that's wild. I mean, I think that's if you start What you don't want, if you are living in abundance and you're a financial mutant, you do not want your kids' best days to be while they lived under your household. I mean, think about that. I mean, I want you to internalize that. I want you to give your children, give them a great life, but build them the mindset, build them the life so that when they get to go buy that first car, they know how it feels to buy that first new car. That when and there's nothing wrong with like travel well and do those type of things. I think that's okay to invest in the memories, but do not make your child's best days the days that they were K through 12 in your household. I think that is something that you ought to bear the responsibility and the weight of, so that you can actually create kids that are going to live on their own and be independent and be good working humans after they get outside of your household.
Love it.